So in this chapter, Reno's release force number is being revealed, something that was teased in the previous chapter, but we weren't privy to what it was yet. Also, it appears that his number 6 suit is doing something to him, something that's probably not good. But before we get into it, let me just go over what happened in the previous chapter real quick. So we saw Reno kind of speed run his ability to use the number 6 suit. It only took him around a month to do that. So we came to like a month time skip where he's being deployed with a few others to subjugate this mole monster, type 67. A monster that appears like every 5 years or so, and it has a resilience of 6.4. So we predominantly saw Reno and Iharu taking this thing down, and it was revealed at this point that Reno's number 6 suit gives him like ice abilities. And at the end of the chapter, as the monster was about to take out Iharu, Reno saved him at the last second. And also there's been like this recurring theme of Iharu falling behind Reno and the others, constantly wanting to improve and prove himself to be the best or one of the best. Because as we've seen recently, Reno has really jumped the power scale in more ways than one. And that brings us to the beginning of this chapter 61, where we're seeing some of Iharu's backstory, where we're seeing that he was like the Kikoru of his high school. He was like the number 1 student. He was unrivaled and deemed like a prodigy pretty much. Like he absorbed everything he was taught and there seemed to be no limit to his potential. But when he joined the defense force and he met the other prodigies, he realized that, oh wow, maybe I'm actually not one of them. And as he continued to push himself harder and harder every day, and it seemed like he could never close the gap, and instead it continued to get wider. And then suddenly Reno really showed that he was like the prodigy among prodigies. As we established just recently in the manga, he has really started to bloom, being not only pretty much the only person in the defense corps to be able to use the number 6 suit, but also being able to use it in combat after only training with it for a month, which is like unheard of. So we're continuing to see this from the perspective of Iharu, and I can't help but relate to this, to be honest. It's kind of similar to being like a YouTuber. But we're coming back to Iharu fighting against that mole monster, and he's getting swatted by it, and we're going more into like his inner monologue where he's like, things started going downhill after I joined the defense force. I stopped improving, I stopped being the best. And we're just getting more insight into why Iharu is the way that he is, why he puts so much pressure on himself, and why he's striving to be the best, because he was the best. But when you realize it's not as easy as it was before, since you're no longer like a big fish in a small pond, you really start to have like an existential crisis, such as Iharu is having. But this is where Reno's coming back in to save Iharu from the mole monster, and we're getting to see his release force number, which is 43%, which is really good. And like I said in the previous chapter, his release force was teased because it said that the 3rd unit's data shows that he's had abnormal growth since enlistment, and while his current number is quite inferior to Kikoru Shinomiya's, when looking at the release force overall, he surpasses her in terms of speed movement. So I don't remember exactly, and forgive me for this, but I think Hikaru's last shown release force number was like 57 or something like that. So we assumed, okay, it was going to be lower than that, but it appears that he's faster than her despite that gap. So Reno winds up dodging one of the mole monster's attacks, and he winds up on the side of it, and he just puts his hand like on its leg and like just freezes it like that. We saw in the previous chapter that he can like release ice from like his feet and from his bullets and whatnot, but this is the first time that he's just straight up doing it like mage style, similar to Todoroki from My Hero Academia, if you're familiar with that series. And I know a lot of us speculated that he would eventually get to this point, but it appears that he's already there. I mean, he's not like completely turning it into ice, and I'm sure that's, you know, in the future of the story for sure, but he's already pretty far along at this point despite only using the suit for a month, going back to him being like a super prodigy. Then he winds up going up the monster's arm and shooting it along the way, but he's like, this isn't working. Its epidermal hardness and regeneration speed are way beyond those of after beasts. I won't be able to reach its core like this. And then he says, I need more power. And then suddenly his release force goes up to 46%. And they start questioning, like, is he getting stronger mid-battle? Then Ogata says, no, this is, and then we don't find out what he's saying, but Ogata apparently knows what's going on here. meaning that it's something that has probably happened before with these numbered weapon users, because he explained number weapons in general and number 6 to Reno in chapter 59 when he said the number weapons are so powerful that handling one correctly can enable a single person to take down a mega monster, but on the other hand, the immense burden and increased dispatch to the front lines has led half of the users to lose their lives before they are discharged, and that amongst those, weapon number 6 is known as the strongest and most dangerous. Now also, if we go back to chapter 50, when we see Isao using the number 2 gauntlets, when he starts to use the release power of them, they say that a full release with an identified kaiju weapon puts so much stress on the user that it shortens their lifespan. But with the power they gain in return, it's like a mega monster emerging, but in human form. So this is most definitely happening to Reno as well. This incredible power that he's getting is also for sure shortening his lifespan in return. But I don't think that's just entirely it here when Ogata says no, this is because going further, Reno shoots the mole monster with like an ice bullet, but it's still not enough, as he says, and he's like, I need more, and he starts getting like frantic, and then he releases his power to like 51%, and they ask him like, hey, troop member Ishikawa, are you okay? And he's like, I'm fine, actually I'm feeling more clear-headed than usual. And then coming to the end of the chapter, Ogata's like, this is bad, and the narration says, is victory really nearing? So this also kind of parallels to what was going on with Isao when he was fighting Kaiju number 9. Isao kept pushing himself in a similar manner. Now granted, these two situations are different, as where Isao taking down number 9 was like really important and he kind of had to do it at that moment. Reno doesn't necessarily like have to subjugate this mole monster. Like, I'm sure Ogata and the others can take care of it, as they said. This is more so just like a proving exercise for Reno more than anything, but it could just be that these numbered weapons, especially like number 6, the strongest of them, which is like a full-blown suit, like compels the wearer to draw out more and more of its power as it like sucks more of their lifespan away. Like, this is just what they do, because there is like, I don't know, implied to be some sort of sentience in there or something like that. I mean, it's not full-blown alive, or at least it hasn't been stated that they are, the way that number 10 suit is going to be. But when we see Reno first put on the gauntlets of number 6, you know, 2 chapters back, like an apparition of itself appears in front of Reno, then he like passes out. So I guess that's what's going on here. I mean, we don't know for sure yet. It'll probably be revealed in the next chapter, but I'm thinking that this is like the common thing here amongst the numbered weapons. It's almost like a drug in a way, compelling you to like keep tapping in more and more of it because it wants to draw more of your life away, or it just wants to release more of itself so that it can exert more of its power. But this possibly could lead to maybe Reno, like, I don't know, going berserk or something, or blacking out and going to like a fugue state or something, and then maybe this is where Iharu comes in and he's the one that has to stop Reno, and maybe this is like Iharu's proving point. Maybe not. See what happens. Let me know what you think is going to happen in the next chapter. What do you think is going to happen with Reno? What do you think is going on with his suit? And do you think Iharu is going to have a moment here? Do you think Kafka is going to come back? Probably not, but let me know. And if you like the video, guys, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.